Welcome back. You're listening to WSB Stony Brook. You just listened to Perimeter's EP, Shattered, with songs Wear Shades of Black, Never Let You Go, Adrenaline, Stay, and Another Chance. I'm joined by two of the members now to discuss the EP and some other stuff. How about you guys introduce yourself and give a quick bio of the band?
Hey, I'm Shane Harris. I'm the lead guitar player of Perimeter, and I go to Stony Brook University. I'm 19 years old, and I've been playing for about 9 years on the guitar.
My name is Mark Cheshire. I'm the vocalist of Perimeter. I'm 22 years old. I go to Malloy College for music performance, and I'm also a musician in the Army.
Alright, that's pretty cool. So, what do you, play for the Army?
Believe it or not, in the Army I play the piccolo or the flute,
That's
as manly as that is.
I would not picture you playing the flute. I would probably picture you playing, trumpet or, some sort of brass instrument. I want to see you and just picture, oh, that's a piccolo.
I picked the most manly instrument out there.
Yeah, alright. Okay. So let's get right into it. So we're going to do some regular type questions, general type questions right before the EP. To get into depth for the EP, I can't talk today. Those finals are frying my brain, dude. It's awful. But anyway, so what are some inspirations for you guys for your specific instrument, for guitar for you and vocals?
Well, I'm going to say, recently, I've actually been listening to a lot of extremely heavy, metal, metalcore, deathcore. I've been listening to a lot of the guitar player Jason Richardson, who was in Chelsea Grin, and he did a solo project, and the album's called I, and it's the most ridiculous shred fest I've ever heard. It's some insane things, and I've been taking a lot of inspiration from that, but my overall inspiration has been Children of Bodom, August Burns Red. Avenged Sevenfold used to be a huge influence on me. On the Shattered EP, it's mostly Avenged Sevenfold influence, but I'd say right now it's August Burns Red, Children of Bodom, and maybe a little bit of Disturbed, Bullet for My Valentine.
Get ready for the question later, because it's going to be really interesting to hear what you guys say about it. But anyway, let's see what's your.
Oh yeah, so my my vocal inspiration has always been of Mice and Men. I grew up with listening to them for at least 4 or 5 years, and then I kind of advanced onto other bands in that genre. Probably my all-time favorite singer that I base my music off of is Tyler Carter. I listened to him in the band Woe Is Me for God knows how many years, and then he moved on to a band called Issues, which I now base a lot of my influence off of. So him working hand in hand with another band singer, Emarosa, Johnny Craig. Oh man, I learned one of the songs, A Toast to the Future Kids, and I use that song before every show just to practice because his vocal technique is just phenomenal.
Johnny Craig, the most controversial man in the scene.
Oh, yeah.
I love him, but it's just so much drama that comes with him.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. But he does so much different things. Just it had Emma Roja, and now he has Slaves, and that was a whole thing for Warped Tour a year or so ago. And it's just he's everywhere. I believe he was in Dance Gavin Dance for a bit or whatnot. Yeah, he did a lot of different projects. Him and Craig Owens from Kiddos are just always even though they have super super high voices, just I don't usually really like it unless vocalist is really well at it and has that range, and just those two blow everyone away to me, in my perspective. But anyway, let's go on. So again, for the audience listening, we're talking to the band Perimeter, but that wasn't always their name. Before, this summer, they were called The Bottom Line. So why did you change the name to Perimeter?
Yeah, so this was actually a really funny story. I remember basically when we started even working on the Shattered EP, we saw that there was a band called The Bottom Line already. It was a pop punk band. We listened to it and we're like, oh, these guys actually, they're legit. They have established music. They're actually pretty good. But and we noticed actually during the summer that they were touring with Simple Plan. We're like, okay, we cannot have this name, because if we release music under The Bottom Line, we're going to get in trouble for copyright infringement. So initially, we actually wanted the band name to be Infringement, because it would be really, like, ironic, okay? But, I don't know, more, like, we chose Perimeter, and I remember we were talking about this more, like, because it encompassed, like, everything we did. Like, what was that totally about?
So basically, the word perimeter came to me based off of a lot of aspects of the history of the band. And when I joined the band, I auditioned actually roughly about 2.5 years ago from now. And when I joined the band, we were established under the name The Bottom Line. And I really, I was okay with the name, but I never was really okay with the name.
Yeah, he never loved
it. So, I mean, after 2.5 years, I finally, got the opportunity to really, like, recreate the band's name under, something that, like, I felt really stood for us as a unit. And the name Perimeter, to me, really, I think about a lot of things. I think about the factor of stretching the boundaries and really going beyond the limits of the music that has been established in the modern day. I feel like the genres that are out there right now aren't really pushing the limits and extending past, what is sellable on the radio. So we're really trying to go above and beyond what the expectations are and just, really push and see how far we can stretch away from the norm without completely being crazy.
Yeah, it was like exactly even what like you and Frankie were the masterminds of it. And I saw the name and I was like, no, definitely not. Like, this doesn't fit us. But I was like, you know what? In order to make a name yours, you need to put the music behind it. So whatever music we're making is what Perimeter sounds like. It's not like, oh, this band name sounds really heavy. No, the music behind Perimeter sounds heavy. And that was my misunderstanding.
You just made me think of, like, every single, like, what was, like, really, really heavy, like, deathcore bands that have, like, the really obscure names.
Yeah, totally.
Just for the fact of
just like, wow, that sounds heavy.
And just make, like, the whole logo all scratched up like a barcode.
That's ridiculous. Like, I can't even read some of these logos. Like, I wish. And it's even, like, it's, like, so relatable to some of their singers. They're screaming so incomprehensibly, like, there's some singers, again, like, I'll go back to Chelsea Grin. I can understand them perfectly, but, like, then I look at the band name, like, I can sort of read it, but not
kinda. Alright, so we're going to continue on with some, like, quote-unquote fun type questions. I usually try to ask, just to add that sense of entertainment.
Oh, I'm game.
But, this is probably going to go a lot more for Shane. I don't know, probably you too.
Oh boy.
But you can. But this thing is like choose one out of the three. All right, and I'm going to make you choose if, like, out of the three bands, only one of them existed. Who would they be? Which one would they be? So the first three are going to be Avenged Sevenfold, Disturbed, and Bullet for My Valentine.
Oh shit.
Ooh.
You know what?
I already know what you're gonna say, so just say it.
No, I would choose Disturbed.
Really?
For what reason?
For what reason? Well, okay,
I would expect you to pick Avenged Sevenfold.
Now,
just hearing you guitar playing on the whole record sounds
definitely.
like sin.
Definitely. No, I take that as a compliment. Thank you. But, like,
so the squeaking, just like,
oh yeah, all the okay, but the Disturbed band has a very interesting story behind them. I mean, like, they created such a different sound. They played nu metal, which, okay, metalcore. If Avenged Sevenfold was around, I can tell you they're a big inspiration on a lot of people, but there's a bunch of other bands that could have still made the metalcore genre. But with Disturbed, I mean, they had such a different sound. I mean, like, oh, wah, whatever, like, in Down with the Sickness, and, like, all his, like, weird, like, chants that
Inflections,
he did.
yeah.
Like, he just did some crazy things no other band even attempted to do, and, like, it definitely innovated a lot in the genre of metal.
Well, actually, I'm going to have to agree with Shane on this. It's kind of weird. But
I know,
no,
it's my favorite band,
This
too.
is weird. But no, Disturbed has always been a really good inspiration on some of the writing styles that I do. In one of the songs I wrote on the album is Stay, and I really base the speed and the momentum of the song.
The rhythm is so fast.
The rhythm of it, that's really what I'm looking
Hard to
for.
keep up with,
Was really, mimicked off of not just, like a punk feel.
It's like almost like
but
a rap.
more like a rap-ish vibe. And I got that from Disturbed's style, believe it or not. So.
All right, so I got two more of these, like, out free. The next free bands are Of Mice and Men, Issues, and Day to Remember.
You're killing me.
I mean, Mark has more of an opinion, definitely, because he's been listening longer to those bands, but recently, because I've been listening to a lot of, like, heavier styles and, like, gent, all that, I would have to go with Of Mice and Men, just because...
Wow, we're agreeing on everything today,
God,
aren't we?
this is really rare. But no, I mean, they got Metal Band of the Year. I forgot which year, but their sound was so different again. I mean, it was metalcore, don't get me wrong, but they did this thing where they mixed in like some gent guitar riffs, they mixed in some screaming with singing, but it worked. I mean, their frontman singer does a lot of the screaming, and then their bass player does the singing. I didn't even know that until I looked into the band. I was like, wow, that's really impressive. I watched them live actually this summer, and they blew me back with their live show. They did so many things. I mean, they did such complicated things that I thought they might have to use a backing track for. They were doing it live perfectly, and it blew me back, and they were doing it so perfectly. There was no mistakes anywhere. What about you?
I think that I also agree, obviously. Of Mice and Men is a flawless band. I've been listening to them for God knows how long. But one of the key aspects that I feel, really puts them at the top is that their evolution from the beginning till now is just, it's insane. One of the older albums, The Flood, I remember listening to that one when it first came out, and I thought to myself, oh my God, I have not heard anything like this before, and I could not wait to hear it at Warped Tour. And when I did hear it at Warped Tour, I could not believe my eyes or my ears at how well they looked and sounded on stage.
It was so ambient.
I think that, it's really it's a key goal for a band to be able to perform well on stage. I mean, I hear recordings all the time from bands such as A Day to Remember, for example, and the reason why I'm not as much a fan of the band as I was in the past is unfortunately because I have seen them play live, and I was not really a fan of the vocal ability of the singer.
Okay, that's a fair answer. The next three bands on the list are August Burns Red, Killswitch Engage, and Asking Alexandria. I know,
Right.
I'm killing you guys.
Okay, well, for me, it's definitely August Burns Red.
Finally,
just
we
because-
disagree.
Okay, I mean, like, yeah, I'm more of an instrumentalist when it comes to listening to music, and August Burns Red completely kills the instrumentals. I mean, their album, they're actually having a tour, the Messengers tour, on their album, The Messenger, and the instrumentals in that album, I listened to that when it first came out. I barely even listened to metal, but at the time, at least, that was like 2006, 2007, whatever. I forgot when that came out. But, like, I was really young, and I was just listening to all the shredding that was happening. There was a lot of screaming, don't get me wrong. Like, I didn't really like screaming as much at the time. But the guitar player was doing things beyond what I thought you could actually play on the guitar. I just picked up the guitar at the time, and I was hearing those riffs, I was trying to play them, and they were impossible for me, at least as
a beginner level.
Yeah, beginner, and it was just crazy. It took me until maybe 2 or 3 years ago to really start picking up those songs, trying to learn them again. But not only did they do like complex instrumentals, their newest album has something very laid back about it. They actually, in an interview they were talking about how, it's ridiculous to put so much shredding sometimes. Sometimes you need to lay it back. Sometimes you have to put a little dynamic in their song. One of their songs sounds like the Old West and like it's almost country, and then it goes back to melodic metal, and I find that way more impressive than what Killswitch and Asking Alexandria have done in the metal genre.
Well, unfortunately, Shane is terribly wrong, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm gonna have to disagree with him, and
Right.
I personally think that Asking Alexandria really left an impression on me. Not too long ago, I actually saw them at the Paramount this past year, and it was probably one of the best concerts I've ever been to. Now, a lot of you will say, well, he hasn't been to a lot of concerts then. But no, Asking Alexandria to me really gave a great show, and I think that that's the whole point. It's entertainment. That's what you do. You go on stage, and you go to have a good time, and I feel like they really accomplished that as a band. They never for a second look like they're bored on stage. They are full of energy, and that's really something that I like to take from bands, is that energy, and I want to be able to feel it myself as an audience member. So, walking into there and, really feeling like I'm a part of that band, like a part of a big family, that's really the most important part to me. So, Asking Alexandria, hands down.
Well, I mean, the August Burns Red singer did a tango dance on stage, and he's a metal frontman singer.
That's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I think that's more...
That's the key point.
Definitely. More impressive
I'm going to have to learn some tango.
More impressive than anything Asking Alexandria. No, I'm kidding. I love Asking Alexandria.
All right, so let's get into it with the EP. We stayed away from it for a little bit, but we're just going to go full in depth now. But let's begin with the album cover, because I thought that was really interesting. For the audience members at home, it's very much like a guy kneeling in this like vine garden with like this girl going to like a portal, heading into a portal. So why did you pick that to represent the EP?
Okay, so I actually was talking to my drummer Frankie about this, and first off, we got this artist named Bill Peralta. He is the most impressive artist I've ever seen. He actually worked, believe it or not, for really big bands like Memphis Mayfire and Upon a Burning Body. Like I was blown back when we were even able to get in contact with this guy. So that was impressive enough. But he was like, he also asked, okay, what's the idea? So me and Frankie discussed, and he told me the idea for Never Let You Go, which is the single off of our EP, Shattered. And that's basically what this image is representing. It's representing most of that song, but that song encompasses most of the ideas anyway off of the entire EP. I just thought it would be pretty creative to have a guy and a girl, because that's what the song Never Let You Go is more about. And the guy, I mean, based off of the lyrics, like doesn't want to let go of his girl, but I thought it would be more ironic to put a twist on it, to have the guy not even able to get a girl, to more represent what the other songs are talking about. So, I mean, Shades of Black, I know that's a very dark song. Adrenaline, that's also a dark song. It's more about a friend that basically turns evil. I actually wrote the lyrics to that, so I know that the best out of all of the five. So I drew out a rough image. It looks like a kindergartner drew it. Like, it was the most ridiculous thing. I sent that to Bill. I'm so thankful Bill is such a great artist, because he sent me back. He's like, oh, I know what you're talking about. Sends me back this rough draft that, like, already blew me back completely. I was like, wow, all right. I mean, this could just be the EP. No, but, like, he just kept sketching it. And every single time he sent us back a draft, we were more and more impressed. We chose all the colors just because we thought that went with the dark theme. I thought blue, purple, green were very like a dark green. It was very vivid, but it showed the emotion of the album. Like, you can look at the album artwork yourself and like immediately tell what the album's gonna feel like. At least that's what I feel like. And then the logo itself was made by a local over here, Luis Naves.
That's my guy, dude. Like,
Yeah,
he's the best.
He's so friendly.
I'll always shout him out. Like, I had him in here like a show ago, and we just talked all about that stuff.
Yeah, he's so into that artwork, and like I know that's his biggest passion. He's going into art so deeply. He wants to do something in Comic-Con, I forgot, but like something really big. And he designed our logo, like the thing, like it says perimeter, that's what he designed. It was that, I think, looks very impressive as well. Like, it sort of follows a little bit of the Megadeth Metallica font in a way. Like, you can definitely see that, but we wanted it to be more modern looking, not look, I mean, I love Metallica, but I hate to call them this, but like dad metal almost, like something your parents listen to as metal. So I just thought that.
And I suddenly felt old.
No, I listen to Metallica still, don't get me wrong. That together with the amazing artwork from Bill and the amazing artwork of Lewis made an amazing looking EP art. I was so impressed by the time it was finished. I showed my parents, I showed my friends. My friends are like, "Oh, what band is that?" I'm like, "Oh, that's my band."
You didn't know it? Oh. Alright, so how long have you guys spent writing this EP?
Well, we've been writing this EP, it's safe to say, for roughly around 6 years. This EP began before I was even a part of this band.
Yeah, I can say, all right, so Never Let You Go, believe it or not, that actually came to me when I woke up after a dream. There was a radio playing in my dream. I woke up, I grabbed the guitar, and I started trying to get the notes out. I started trying to, like, okay, what is this song? I wrote it down, brought it to band practice. This was in 8th grade, by the way. And I showed Frankie and Devin at the time, because those were the only 2 people in my band. And they were like, how did you do this? How did you end up writing this song? I was like, oh, it came to me in a dream. They didn't believe me for like a month. So that was Never Let You Go. Another Chance was me just trying to make a really heavy song. Again, that was in 8th grade, and we didn't really start putting those ideas. We were like, oh, okay, we'll play more covers, whatever. We play like more Avenged Sevenfold, Bullet for My Valentine, Disturbed. But then in like 10th, 11th grade, we started working on the songs again. We complete most of the instrumentals with an older group of kids. This kid named AJ that used to be in the band was our old vocalist, and then after he left the band, we got Mark as the vocalist, and then once, that was about 2 years ago, then we actually started working on the music seriously. I would say 2.5 years ago is when we started working seriously, and then we finished all the songs on the EP, including the 2 that I worked on in 8th grade, and then the other 3 were more stuff that we wrote recently, like 3 or 2 years ago.
Okay. So what went to this writing process? Was it like just piece by piece?
So
each member, or was it just organic?
Each song is really entitled to, each member has their own part in every song. Some songs were written, believe it or not, lyrically by our drummer Frankie. Some songs were written by Shane. Every one of us really played a small role in each song. There really is no song where it's just all one person, except for Never Let You Go, I think, is like one of the real songs that was...
No, not even that. No, we actually... I was going to say, for the most part, of course, like, well, not of course, but I write most of the melody lines on the guitar as the lead guitar player. Like I feel like that's my job, but like it's not necessarily my job. Everyone can write like something, but I write most of the melodies, and I'm horrible at arrangement. So like I remember Never Let You Go. I had a bunch of pieces. This was like a long time ago, and I gave it to Frankie and Devin, our bass player, and they just looked at it and they're like, okay, this sucks right now. So the verse was actually the chorus and the chorus was the verse. So we switched that around. We put a few transitions. The song sounded good. Even now, like my weakest point in writing a song is all the transitions. I always have a chorus. I always have a verse or like an intro, and I can never get it to sound good when I want it to flow into the next part. So I'll have them do that for like instrumentals or whatever. I don't write drums, of course. Like I don't really play drums, so my drummer writes most of the drum parts. Mark, we kind of figured out that he doesn't have the same vocal range as some people in the band. I have more even an alto voice, believe it or not. And Mark has more of a tenor voice, so when I'm writing a vocal part, let's say, he can't necessarily sing exactly what I'm singing, just like I can't sing what he's singing. So we figured that him writing the vocal parts would be the smartest, but the lyrics come from mostly everyone in the band. I mean, I wrote most of the lyrics to Adrenaline. Mark wrote most of the lyrics to, like, Shades of Black?
Yeah, I wrote All Stay, and I wrote most of the Shades of Black.
And then Frankie wrote Another Chance and Never Let You Go. And I find that, like, letting everyone take part. I mean, Devin writes all the bass parts. He shreds the bass. I was going to say that's one thing when I'm listening to this myself that sounds different than a lot of metal bands, because the bass usually just sits in the mix. And he writes a bass part that's just so different from what the guitar is doing, and I love it. I love it because it's really melodic.
He really has a lot of character in his bass playing, which, like, I think that if anybody in this band deserves a shout out, it's really his bass playing. It's phenomenal.
I'll let you know, he goes to UNC Chapel Hill, and he plays in their orchestra. He's been, like, all state and cello. He's a
so
very...
that was him doing the cello in the last track, I'm guessing.
Oh,
yes. That was live cello. Every effect that we put in there, for the most part, was authentic. There were a couple synth effects in there, but for the most part, any symphonic stuff, we really did ourselves.
And guess how long it took him to record the cello part?
Like 2 seconds, probably.
Yeah, exactly. He's so impressed. Honestly, I always take for granted, like, most people, like, they forget to acknowledge their bass player. He's such an impressive bass player.
Alright, so what are some pretty much, how do I want to say this, what are some things, like, you think were, like, you did the best, like, were the most, like, challenging on this album to, like, do? Well, like, what were some things that felt easier to do?
Where do I begin? Okay, so as we were talking about prior, about structure and formatting songs, that was a big barrier, and to be honest, if you ask me, we're still learning to tackle that barrier.
Totally.
I'm a firm believer that you will never 100% learn how to mix songs and construct them properly. There is always room for improvement, and there is always a more efficient way to do something. So, for a long time, we would have, like the drum layers be, get the foundation down, and add the bass, and add the guitar, and then lastly the vocals, which was fine. But there were certain moments where, Shane would come up with a verse, for example. We would say it's going to be 8 measures long. I would write the lyrics to it. I'd have it all set to go, walk in to record it. Oh, what do you mean it's 16 measures long? Like, now I'm rewriting the whole lyric line. Like, so there was a lot of, like, hit and misses in communication, which made things a lot harder. But I think that over the years, we really, we click now. We write songs way faster. Our newest song that we can't wait to release on our new album is it's kick ass.
It's definitely
it's just
in our demo process. I was gonna say more recently we've been making sure to keep every single instrumental in mind. So obviously most people listen to not only the instrumentals, because I'm an instrumentalist, so you have to keep the vocals in mind, you got to keep the drums in mind, the bass in mind, everything. And you can't just have noise, you have to have some silence sometimes. You can't just have constant noise. So I've been making sure to like write a guitar part and be like, okay, well, someone's going to be singing over this, or there's going to be a very fast drum line over this, or the drums are going to slow down, or the bass is going to play this. So I've been making sure not to write like that, and so has Mark. Mark's been like, okay, well, Shane's going to be shredding, or like Shane's going to be doing this like laid down part. I have to write something melodic over here, or I have to write something more laid back. So it mixes way better together. I was gonna say our the most recent song that we wrote on our EP would be Shades of Black, and I feel out of any song the transitions and the instrumentals all work the best together. It has even the most effects, and it has the most it's the most progressive, I would say, but it has the best mix of instrumentals and singing, in my opinion.
For your future writing and making upcoming album that you guys are sure to have, what do you want to experiment sound-wise with?
Well, actually, when we made the EP, obviously the whole point of that was to really see what direction we were going to go from here, you know, where we were most successful, you know.
What people like the most.
Well, not necessarily what people like the most, but, like, really where we felt we clicked as a band the most.
That's
you know,
better.
like, when you stand on that stage and you're singing these songs, that's really the ultimate test as to whether or not you're really connecting with your own music.
Yeah, like you should want to enjoy 100%. There should be no doubts in your mind that you want to perform that song.
So talk about performing shows. You guys got the EP release show this Sunday. So
yeah,
let's talk a little bit about that. So this is pretty much the moment where you say, this works, this doesn't work, this song connects with people.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're really excited for this Sunday.
We're doing something completely different. I mean, we're actually we're trying to make it a show. We're not just trying to make it, we're just some people performing a song on stage. I mean, Mark's right now designing these like stage mounts that you step on.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about that. So they're called ego risers, and I looked up on YouTube. You know, you stand on these, you know, blocks of wood, and they have a plexiglass on the top with a pressure plate. So when you step on it, the light comes on, and boom, it's just like, you know, like you're shining up there.
That's one thing.
I saw one of those things at a show before.
Yeah.
From it was a local show for, I know, in loving memory from Halloween. It was Sworn. I think it was the Sworn In show.
Oh, that's sick.
Then from Halloween's vocals, they had like one of those things where, you know, they go on, but what you were talking about, but like the light would be changing. It would be kind of like a disco light kind of thing. So it's
that's really
cool.
Yeah, like just trying to make a impressive show. I mean, like people don't want to just watch you like stand stoically on stage, just not moving. Like, I mean, we're really working on our stage presence more, because at this point we've played our songs so often that we have most of the instrumentals or like the singing down, but we want to now make sure the audience is engaged. So I mean, I suggested recently, everyone was on top of this, that our songs have backing tracks and effects and bass drops, so we got an effects pad that does all of that now. So now, like, instead of just having our raw instrumentals, now we have our backing tracks. Now we can play, we have the cello backing track for our song Another Chance. We have a pad that you hit it. The drummer, Frankie, is going to be hitting a pad that does bass drops, and like I know everyone nowadays loves bass drops, so I was like, okay, we have to have this. I told my friends, I was like, we're gonna have bass drops at our concert. They didn't even care what genre music. They're like, I just love this. Oh yeah. So we want to just make sure, of course we want to love our music and play our music, but we want to make sure that the show's worth coming to, or else, like, what's the point of playing? What's the point of doing a performance? You can just play a radio on stage.
Well, that's about it for all the questions I have. I just want to thank you guys for coming in, discussing the EP, the upcoming show, telling us a little bit about yourself, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So where can people keep up to date with you guys for your music and anything else?
All right, so most of our social media, at least, is on the @Perimeter Official. Literally, the word perimeter and then the word official, no spaces. And we usually regularly update that about once, twice, maybe 3 times a week on Snapchat, on Facebook. Well, not on Snapchat. We don't have Snapchat. On Facebook, on Instagram. And, I mean, we have SoundCloud that has all of our music on. You can stream that. We have everything on Spotify, iTunes, basically any music store like you can possibly think of online. We have our music on.
So that's about it. For everyone, make sure to check out Perimeter's EP, Shattered. Again, you just heard all the different ways you can stream it, download it, and blah blah blah. Definitely support these guys. Come down to 89 North, check out their show.